beautiful Niagara-on-the-Lake, one of the most beautiful towns in all of Canada, and it's growing mainly because of retirees. And isn't that perfect, because today is
International Day of Older Persons. Yeah.
So today we're celebrating all of you who are older than 5. Older persons.
There you go. We are all older than 5. You know, I found some amazing stats as we celebrate International Day of the Older Persons. So right now, 700 million people are over the age of 60 in our world.
And they're all watching the show right now. Hello.
Hi. and it's estimated that by 2050, there will be more people over the age of 60 than younger than children.
And that's already happening here in Canada. It just happened right now.
So great day to celebrate older people that are doing amazing things in their lives. You have some great guests that you're looking forward to.
I'm going to be talking to Marlette and Annette, 2 sisters who have this book called Making Meaning in Older Age. And they're talking about the importance, especially they say, as you get older, and making sure that you find ways to make meaning, because there's some challenges, right? You might face some health concerns, the death of a spouse or a friend. So absolutely, it's so important to make sure that you find things to do that make meaning.
And I think as you get older, you're starting to worry, like, can I still contribute to day-to-day life? Such an important
in a
conversation.
Culture that values youth and doesn't always see the value in older persons. So we're going to talk about that.
And I'm really looking forward to my guests. I have 2 guests today. So David Muir wrote a great book about journeying with a family member as they've been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And so that's such an important topic of how do you do that with grace and love and patience, as well as I'll be talking to the creator of this great website called papa.com, where they pair college students with older people. It's such a great idea. I can't wait to chat.
I did that when I was in college.
You
yes,
did?
We had an adopted grandparent program. I adopted a grandma.
So you were way ahead of papa.com before papa.com was papa.com.
I was.
Awesome.
We have a great show coming up for you. Make sure you stay with us.
Later this week.
You want your kid to be street smart. You want them to see situations where the little uh-oh goes off inside of them at a party or something, and something's going down. I always told our kids, hey, that's the Holy Spirit just reminding you, back off. Get out of here.
Aging in a society that highly values youth is not easy, but today is a day that celebrates the beauty of older persons. And my guest today has some unique insights on that topic. Annette Lane, Marlette Reed, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
You are sisters who lecture on this topic. You've written this book, Making Meaning in Older Age. You love to talk about this. Tell me why you're so passionate about this topic.
I think there's a number of reasons. Number one, our seniors really have built our country. So historically, what they have done is huge, and we should value that. Number two, I think older adults are incredibly resilient. They're not viewed as being resilient, but a number of them have survived war, they've survived all sorts of difficult things. And number three, they can be a wonderful example to the younger generations on what it's like to live through difficult circumstances and live with grace and humor. Do you want to add something, Marlette?
Sure. Annette and I, our parents went through their last years as well, and we were very involved in their care. Both developed a dementia at a certain point. It took the 4 children who lived in Calgary and our spouses everything we had to keep their ships afloat. And so we know there's a tremendous vulnerability in older adulthood. So partly due to our work, partly due to our experience, partly due to a value system that says the measure of a society is how we treat its most vulnerable members. Those are the kinds of things that motivate us.
And you think about the lies that just particularly Western culture, you know, peddles about youth, and really other cultures around the world are doing such a better job of valuing their elders and respecting them and caring for them maybe than we do here. Talk to me about some of the ways we can fight those lies. Talk to me about the value of older people and what we can learn from them.
So I think in terms of society in general, we need to have more positive media portrayals of older adults. That would be huge. I think as well we need to have more intergenerational activities. So it's not just the youth group that goes to a nursing home to sing to the older adults there, but where teenagers and older adults are linked together, in pairs, where the older adult helps the teenager and the teenager helps the older adult. And so then they recognize the beauty and the strength in both of each other. And the older adults have a lot to teach the younger generations. If we lose that, we've lost a huge component in society.
I'm thinking about somebody who may be watching this today who is getting older and is feeling not valued and kind of buying into the lies of culture in a sense, that if you don't have that youth, or if you have a few wrinkles or little physical frailty, you're not valuable. What advice would you give somebody who's kind of struggling with that?
D.L. Moody said that we should begin to plan for our retirement in our teens. And I don't know of any person of our generation who has done that. But certainly for older adults, they need to be engaged, and they need to know what it is that gives them meaning, to get involved with that in whatever way they can. An older adult who is a person of faith, such as my husband's grandmother, she was very involved in the community, just a pillar. And as her age got higher and her abilities got less so, she turned her energies inward and upward. She was a prayer warrior that even the pastors in the church would come and consult her. And after she passed, we were fortunate to receive one of her Bibles, and there were all these little notes from various pastors of the church over the years. Kathleen, please pray for. So that lady had a outward-looking focus when she could, and when she became very frail and elderly and had even some dementia, she maintained a focus up towards God, and we're convinced prayed us through a lot of things.
Wow, so beautiful. There's so much more we could talk about. Unfortunately, we are now out of time, but thank you so much for joining us, and please keep talking about this because we really need it.
Thank you very much.
And if you're watching this today, it is the International Day of Older Persons, so go give a hug, serve someone in your life, listen to their wisdom, ask them questions, pray for them, do whatever you can. Let's value people who have gained the wisdom of life. We'll be right back.
With the baby boom generation approaching its twilight years, it's becoming so important to have resources and support for the elder population. Well, often people need some support or assistance or companionship. PAPA is an organization that does just that. Andrew Parker is the founder and CEO of PAPA. Thanks for joining us today, Andrew.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us, what is PAPA?
So PAPA connects college students to seniors that are in need of services like transportation, house help, want to learn how to use computers or technology, but our main focus is to try to support seniors who are lonely with companionship. And that's why we refer to our students as grandkids on demand.
So what inspired you to start this, Andrew?
Well, it was out of a personal need. I wasn't really thinking of a business, but my grandfather, who we called Papa, needed assistance one day, and I simply thought, why don't we just hire a college student? And then after looking into it a little bit more and understanding that he had a great time with that day, just thought like, well, let's just connect the two through technology, and kind of went off to the races.
Now, we know that statistics show that more and more people are feeling lonely, less family is around, especially for the older population. Are you finding a huge demand for this service?
There is a huge demand. It's been somewhat overwhelming, all positive. We started this company about a year ago in Miami, Florida, and we've been expanding pretty rapidly throughout the state and expect to bring on new states and new countries here very soon. So yeah, people are very into it.
So what are some of the benefits for both the elderly person as well as the college student?
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, according to a Cigna Lonely study, the two loneliest populations are students and senior citizens. And so it's interesting that we originally thought of this to benefit the seniors, but seemingly is benefiting both sides. What's interesting is most people don't call and say, I'm lonely. What they call for is, I need to go to the grocery store, I need someone to help me at the doctor's office, or I want to learn how to use social media to communicate with my family. But those 1-hour tasks end up turning into 7-8-hour visits. So it's almost like companionship incognito, which I think is the best way to solve this crisis.
I always find it interesting, Andrew, that, with our social media generation, everybody feels connected, and with Instagram, Facebook, you name it, but we still feel so alone. Are you finding that?
Yeah, and it's a little frustrating. I think it's going to get worse over time, but there's a big difference between kind of having this opportunity to connect people through the internet and then actually having a human connection, and that's really where we focus.
So explain to me and our viewers, how does this exactly work?
So people could call us, they could use our mobile app or go to our website, and they could set up an account. Very simple, takes a couple minutes. And then anytime they want to, they could request a student, and they're available 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. in every time zone that we offer services. And they could really request whatever they need within scope. So, they need to go to the grocery store, they need someone to help put away groceries, make some lunch for them, maybe they want to go to the movies, things like that. And it's very simple. We just charge by the hour, and we also have a membership fee.
Okay, so I know some people that will be watching will be like, I don't want to allow just any kid into my house. Tell me, what's the vetting process like?
Yes, we think of it as a curated experience. We have thousands of people apply to be on our platform, but we accept less than 5%. We take the students through a very strict process. And by the way, we also have a process for the seniors. We're really focused on supporting both sides of the generational marketplace.
Okay, so if anybody wants to find out more about Papa, is it just papa.com?
Joinpapa.com, joinpapa.com, or you could call our 1-800 number as well, which you could find on our website.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Andrew.
Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
It's been 1 year since our founder David Maines passed, entrusting his legacy of Christian broadcast to us to continue sharing the message of Jesus. David built 100 Huntley Street with the support of many monthly partners. We're thankful that today they continue to form the financial and prayerful backbone of Crossroads Media mission. Is it your time to become a monthly partner? If you enjoy watching 100 Huntley Street, if you agree that our trusted Christian voice in Canadian media must stand strong, if you believe Crossroads Media Missions is critical to reaching our younger generation online with relevant Christian content, and if you want our 24/7 prayer phone lines and now new prayer chat lines to answer calls for help and hope, then please become one of the 1,000 new monthly partners we're looking for this month. Call today, 1-800-265-3100, to become a monthly partner and join us in giving thanks to God for using each of us to reach people with His good news.
It is a new month. We are now in the month of October. Can you believe it? It is the month of Thanksgiving, and you know what we're thankful for? All of you. So many of you give sacrificially to this ministry. If you haven't done that, we could not continue to bring stories of hope every day across this nation without your help. Please consider giving. You can go to our website at crossroads.ca. You can give us a call at 1-800-265-3100. Any little bit you can give will help us continue this work, and thank you so much. Well, now we're going to go to Maggie with her guests.
According to the Alzheimer's Society of Canada, the number of Canadians with dementia is rising sharply. As of today, there are over 500,000 Canadians living with dementia, plus about 25,000 new cases diagnosed every single year. By 2031, that number is expected to rise to 937,000, an increase of 66%. My guest today shares his own personal journey with caring for a family member living with Alzheimer's and how faith has helped him and his wife serve their loved one through what can be a difficult journey. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you.
So you and your wife, Dale, have been caring for your mother-in-law, Karen.
Yes.
Tell me about why share this journey with the world?
I think I decided it shortly after we woke up. We're woken up at 2 o'clock in the morning by a police officer in our bedroom with his light shining at us saying, "I'm responding to a 911 call." And so there's got to be a mistake. I didn't call anybody.
I'm asleep.
And he said, "Well, there's an elderly woman in your living room." It's like, oh, yeah. So, yeah, she had, we had her at her home because, you know, she was having an open can of soup in the cupboard and putting perishables in the wrong places and some confusion. We wanted to have her over at our place. And she woke up, didn't know where she was, didn't know where her husband was, called the police. And I did everything wrong that evening. I didn't understand the disease. This was kind of early on. And I said, "Karen, you've been in our house 1,000 times, and Jean died a couple of years ago." And she said, "Well, this is the first I've heard of it." I thought, okay, I need to do things differently, and I need to figure out what's going on.
And so when the diagnosis came of Alzheimer's, take me back to that time and what that was like for you as well as for your wife, Dale.
It took a while to land there because it starts out slow, and then it progresses worse. And so you think, well, you know, she's old, she's in her 80s, you know, she's just slipping a little bit, but there's a difference between grasping for a word, you know, or maybe forgetting why you wandered into the kitchen and thinking that you're 300 miles away and that you're a teenager and you're trying to call your mother. So it's not just aging, it's a radically different kind of disease, and it takes a doctor. You need someone to make a diagnosis. You don't do this, don't practice medicine on your own.
You do articulate that in your book as well.
Yeah, it's really important. And there are some conditions that can look like Alzheimer's that are a bladder infection or something that can be remedied. So you want a doctor to weigh in on this, but that was the diagnosis, and the trajectory is always difficult.
Now we hear dementia, Alzheimer's kind of used interchangeably. Is there a difference? And if there is, what is it?
Dementia is not a condition, or it's an overarching umbrella term for other conditions like Alzheimer's, but to me it's kind of like potato and potato. They're all jets heading to the same airport, whether it's Lewy bodies or, you know, a different kind of dementia or it's Alzheimer's. It's never a smooth landing, and so to me I focus more on what do you do? What do you expect? And then what do you do as a family member?
And explain that, because, you know, as you said, it can just gently almost appear, right? Like first you think, oh, they've just forgotten.
Right.
How do you emotionally go through that journey as a loved one and then a caregiver to help that person?
You know, this is, Karen is my mother-in-law, and so it was hard for me, but it's really hard for my wife. And what's really hard is when you can't do anything about it, and you have to process the fact that she's forgetting who you are. She has a vague sense that I know you, but, you know, are you my niece? You know, are you my mother? You know, so you just adjust to this difficult reality, and then you do the next thing. You just do the next thing in front of you.
And like fear or frustration. Obviously those things can pop out, especially as a caregiver. Explain the journey of not taking that out on the person that's struggling through this journey.
You know, I've seen people, I wrote a chapter called Effective Techniques to Beat a Dead Horse.
Yeah.
And it goes like this. Okay, you start shouting at the dead horse by saying, "Giddy up," in a voice reminiscent of John Wayne. And if that doesn't work, you use some spurs. And if that doesn't work, you just bring a baseball bat and start wailing away at it. And once you've accomplished that, then you can go on to the difficult task of getting with someone with Alzheimer's to remember what you want them to remember. You know, you have to give up on some things and don't be frustrated. And I've seen people do really dumb things like, I just told you that 5 minutes ago. Or while the person is there saying, you know, she asks me 20 times a day where the bathroom is. It's like, excuse me, she can't do anything about it. He can't do anything about it. You have to be the one who adapts. And you also, I think, have to find a way to laugh. And I'm a humor writer. That's what I do. So I took on a book that is way outside my comfort zone and not something I normally do. But I thought, we have to bring a little bit of levity and joy actually into this really difficult journey, or it's going to take us down a black hole.
Well, we are going to take a quick break, but when we return, Dave is going to explain why he has found humor, as you just said, to be a good for the soul in the midst of this journey through Alzheimer's. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Still to come on 100 Huntley Street.
You're not going to jog their memory. Their neurons are breaking down. The stuff is falling apart. There's a plaque in the brain, and you're not going to improve it by beating the dead horse or trying to get her to remember.
We are an undeniable voice, but we are not political. We are media missionaries.
We are back with Dave Muir, who has been sharing his family's journey caring for his wife's mother, Karen, as she lives with Alzheimer's. You've written this great book called New Everyday, Navigating Alzheimer's with Grace and Compassion. And as you said before we went to break, humor is a great way of journeying through this.
It is.
Yeah.
And for example, my mother-in-law, I named it New Every Day because things are new every day. Things are new every 5 minutes, you know, and she took a fall. She had a cast on her arm. She was in the hospital, and she would look down every day. Why is this on my arm? I said, well, you took a fall. Well, someone should have told me. And she looked at me like I was the biggest dingbat. She said, you need to communicate better. It's like, I'll do my best. I'll try.
Just take the hit and move on.
And she will sometimes just spontaneously. If you have a chance to laugh, I think it's just healthy. You're not laughing at someone, but when my 86-year-old mother-in-law turned to me and said, you know, I'm left-handed, but I bat with my right. I just had to kind of bite my lip and leave the table because it was just really funny. And it's good to laugh.
You have great practical advice in the book as well as humor. And you know, you talk about don't tell stories from decades past. Explain that.
You know, again, I've seen well-meaning people, hey, Mom, do you remember when we were kids? And it's like, then she can't remember. And so instead of do you remember, don't ever say that. You can get at a memory in a different way by stating something like, with my mother-in-law, we'll say, you know, I really like Oregon because it has so many farms. And that may or may not trigger something, but if it does, like, well, I grew up on a farm and it was wonderful. And then she will start talking about the 1930s as though it happened yesterday. Yeah. But I don't say, do you remember? And I don't say...
Because does that cause frustration?
It causes frustration and alarm because they suddenly realize, I can't remember. And if you ask question after question, you're not going to jog their memory. Their neurons are breaking down. The stuff is falling apart. There's a plaque in the brain. And you're not going to improve it by beating the dead horse or trying to get her to remember. But you can talk about the here and now. Isn't this a lovely rose? Isn't it a nice day today? Or talk about something in the future. You know, we're going to go see the Corn Palace because that was a really bad decision, and it's just a big, gigantic monument to, you know, agriculture in South Dakota, and we could have gone to Hawaii, and we're really dumb. But it's in the future. You can talk about that.
Ask questions about the here and now. You alluded to that. And don't make the mistake of trying to help her remember. You can't.
Right. And I do see it, and it is frustrating. Don't go there. Just don't go there because you can't. There are things you can do. You can bring peace in the moment. You can bring joy in the moment. You don't argue with their memories. If she's under the impression she just flew to Europe last night, I'll say, I hope you had a great trip. And this is really difficult for some people, especially people of faith. I have a friend whose mom passed away, and he felt the need to tell his dad every day when his dad said, where's my mother, or where's my wife? Well, she died. And it was just, and he didn't know it. And so it was like breaking the news every day, and he finally realized, I can lie, and it's okay, because the intent is not to deceive. The intent is to bring peace. What good comes from telling someone the truth when it's so painful? So I'll just say, yeah, she went shopping. She'll be back in a couple hours. And when he asks the question again in a couple hours, she went shopping. Oh, okay. You wouldn't want to go to that store anyway.
You also talk about the fact that you're surprised at the things that Karen does remember.
You never know.
Yeah.
Some days I thought we were heading toward like not having communication anymore. I told the kids, hey, when Grandma comes over, she couldn't even get words out yesterday, and we're going to try to have her over for a meal, but just don't expect her to make any sense at all. And she came and she said, oh, Brad, I haven't seen you in a couple of weeks, and which was accurate. And Mark, you know, how is school going? And it's like, how did that happen? Yeah. And it's just the short circuit, you know, wasn't there that day. It's always there, kind of, but some days are better than others.
And the importance of caregivers, the importance of you and Dale, and being taken care of. That is so, and I think, you know, we've talked about caregivers and the importance of that on the show so many times, but sometimes people feel like, oh, you know, I almost don't want to take care of myself because that the patient is the most important person at that time.
You've got to take care of yourself so you can be there for the long haul.
Yeah.
And you're still a caregiver, even if, and we were helping Karin try to be independent as long as possible. Eventually, it required being in a care facility because she doesn't sleep, and we couldn't be awake all the time. But you're still a caregiver if you're engaged in their life and you're still giving, but you've got to take a break. Sometimes I would just tell Dale, you're not going over today to visit. You need a break. You're there for the long haul. It's a marathon.
And faith, you alluded to that just a while ago. How important has your faith been through this journey?
It's critical. And you know what? In any kind of suffering, whether it's personal or whether it's in the life of someone else, I think that can make us wonder about the goodness of God. And I get that. And to me, I just have to go back to that question was settled at the cross.
Yeah.
The question of does God care about us was settled when Christ died for our sins. So no matter what is going on, that doesn't negate or undo the cross. And I hold on to the love of God because of that.
Thank you so much, Dave, for your time today. And again, the book is called New Every Day, Navigating Alzheimer's with Grace and Compassion. One of the scriptures that Dave has near the end of the book is from Psalm 27, verse 13 and 14. And it says, I would have despaired unless I had believed that I would see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Wait on the Lord. Be strong and let your heart take courage. Yes, wait for the Lord. And I just hope that that is an encouragement to you today. Maybe you're caring for a loved one that has Alzheimer's, is going through dementia, or maybe some other illness, and you just feel like, God, where are you in this situation? Where am I in this situation? Know that God is there, that He is near to the brokenhearted, His word says. And our prayer partners are there as well. They would love to pray with you, encourage you. They are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to just stand by you and say, yeah, I can understand what you're going through, but you know what? God is there. And if you just feel like you don't have the words to pray, they would love to just hold up your hands and pray for you. So please do call. The number's at the bottom of our screen, 1-866-273-4444. And we have a great new aspect as well. If you just want to email a prayer request, we do accept emails as well at prayer@crossroads.ca. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I find often people don't realize how much God deeply cares for them. Often they are so burdened by condemnation and self-accusation. They just think God must be angry at them, and surely they've done a sin that's too great for God. And that's what I find I pray over a lot, that they have a spirit of wisdom and revelation in the knowledge of Jesus, and that they know that they're God's beloved. That, I think, is one of the most powerful things to communicate and pray, is that Jesus always accepts them. He always loves them. You can just sense, and they tell you, I feel like a burden has lifted. And hearing those things just make it so beautiful, and you yourself rejoice in your own salvation and what God's done in your life. It's just the best feeling in the world. It really is.
One of the resources we are so thrilled to be able to share with people is those prayer lines. They're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And who are they staffed by, Maggie, mainly?
Older people that have found purpose in this next chapter of their lives. And we absolutely love the fact that we can offer our prayer lines, and again, so much wisdom from our prayer partners.
I love listening to them pray. They have so much life wisdom and depth to them, and they are such a gift to us. And that's really what it's all about. You know, my guests today, Marlette and Annette, talking about finding meaning and planning for that in that next stage of your life, because you have so much to offer. Don't listen to culture sometimes that are just always putting up youth. Young people, right? We've learned a lot over the last few years, and we have a lot more to learn.
Continue to learn. And I learned a lot from David Muir today, as well as he was talking about journeying with his mother-in-law, him and his wife, and just, you know, being patient, finding humor and joy in Alzheimer's as well as they go through this very difficult journey.
What a great resource for people who are facing that, something you never planned for, right? But it happens, and then having someone else who's walked there before you, there's the purpose of life experience and learning from life experience. It's the International Day of the Older Person, so what do you think we should do for the older people in our life?
We should love them every day, not just on International Day of the Older Person.
But call them.
Yes,
and take them out for
absolutely.
dinner.
Do it today.
Give them a hug.
From Niagara-on-the-Lake. We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for your ongoing support of Crossroads, a member of the Canadian Council of Christian Charities. You can write to Crossroads, P.O. Box 5100, Burlington, Ontario, L7R 4M2.